Welcome back to Toast Sports Baseball, episode 3. Let's go. We're talking monster contracts, crazy hot starts, torpedo bats. Vladdy got $500 million. So that's going to be topic number 1 here. Was it too much? Wilyer Abreu may be the best player in baseball. Braves can't buy a win. We got way too many topics to fit into one episode, but we are going to try. Joe, let's start out with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. $500 million. What a contract. What's your thoughts on this to start out?
Well, I think it's great for Vladdy. I think it's a huge win for him. I do not think he gets that on the open market. And I also think it's kind of a win for the Blue Jays. They get to keep their homegrown Canadian talent, which they have not been able to do. They have also not been able to attract other free agent stars, whether it be the Ohtani Ghost Plane or anyone else. So I think them retaining top talent is a win for them. However, I do think it's a huge overpay. I think it's going to backfire on them middle to later of the deal. But, you know, Toronto's in win now, like literally win now this year. And Vladdy gives you the opportunity to possibly attract these free agents you haven't been able to land. So we'll see. I mean, I think it being the third largest contract in baseball is pretty absurd. But, you know, I think in the end, Vladdy chose the $500 million, which is hard to turn down instead of chasing championships. So we'll definitely see what happens.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about the Blue Jays being a traditionally pretty conservative organization. Their biggest contract prior to this was George Springer, 6 years, $150 million. I think they believe in Vladdy. He's still young enough that you can believe that you're going to get a lot more out of him over the long term. It was 14 years. 14 years is a heck of a contract. That's a long time. No deferred money. Definitely, that's a key piece of this. It's all up front. It's all up front. It's all during the actual contract, which I love as a baseball fan. I think that this whole idea of deferring crazy amounts of money until the player's no longer playing is pretty outrageous. But that'll be a topic for another time. This now makes Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s contract the third largest in total, total price point here, $500 million. It's only a matter of time until we see $1 billion contract. And now they got some other guys on this team, though, that they may have to pay pretty soon. And one of them is Bo Bichette, big name guy, right? They got to get a deal done with him, I'd imagine.
I don't think it's happening, but I think the biggest positive for all of these teams right now is that they can sell these contracts. I mean, not really. This Vladdy contract doesn't really go into this category because I think it's an overpay. But in general, with the lockout looming, and it sounds like the lockout is a very huge possibility, they can kind of scare guys like, hey, here's this money, accept it. If the lockout happens, you're still getting paid. Or you can test free agency and see if there's a season next year, and you could be out an entire year without any money. So yeah. I think Bo Bichette's going to walk. I don't think he wants to be there. It will be very interesting if they are still in the hunt for a wild card spot or a division championship. But like I said, I think the Blue Jays' next big move is probably Kyle Tucker, and they're going to throw a ton of money at him. Probably more. I would give him more, or just give him a higher AAP, average annual payment. And
I think that's probably more likely. I think it's probably more likely is a higher AAV.
Yeah, you combine those two, hope some guys come up. You either trade Bo Bichette or at least you get another draft pick if he signs somewhere else. And then you just got to hope your aging stars age like fine wine because their roster is definitely on the wrong side of 30.
Yeah. Speaking of Kyle Tucker, I think he's probably one of the most impacted by the steal, right? You got a guy that's I believe he's going to be 28 next year when he's up for this massive extension that he's about to have, or potential free agent signing. I'm looking for him to potentially get more like a 10, 11-year contract as opposed to like a 13, 14-year contract. I'm thinking it's going to probably fall somewhere in the 400 millions. I don't know if it's going to be from an AAV. It's going to be higher. I think he's a better player just every day than Vladdy. He brings more to the table defensively than Vladdy does. He also slugs home runs like a maniac as well. So dude was NL player of the week this last week, and it seems like he's not even in the right headspace, which is crazy. Yeah, man, I could see Kyle Tucker definitely being an option for the Blue Jays going forward. But man, what a crazy extension that kind of came out of nowhere. I know they wanted to get this done before the season started. It couldn't happen. Kind of interesting to see it happen, 2 weeks in. But, again, good for Vladdy. I think we're about to see a flurry of massive deals, like you kind of said, guys trying to get in some contracts before a potential lockout. So, yeah, good for both sides, maybe. I mean, if you look at it too, it's not like the Blue Jays have guys just begging to go to Toronto constantly.
Yeah, I would love to see their financials and say worst case scenario, it's literally just Vladdy there, and how many fans actually come to go see him hit 240 with 28 jacks. And maybe they're going to be scratching their head a lot. Or maybe it's the super upside where he turns into a perennial MVP candidate every year and he's able to attract these stars that they have not been able to land. But I do think for Toronto that your best option is acquiring assets through trades right now and then using those assets to acquire retainable talent that can at least you get 3-4 years and kind of build yourself a window with Vladdy. Because if he's 25 and how he's kind of progressing, or some would say regressing in different aspects of his game, you probably have like a 5-year window of him being a true stud and then giving you defensive value as well, and then probably an additional 2-3 years. And then it's probably like old Miguel Cabrera on Detroit and Albert Pujols of the Angels.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I see that contract. And then you have a DH where you don't get the flexibility. So it could be very dangerous waters, but if you're an organization, you roll the dice on that, see what happens, and obtain your star talent.
One of those, like, you can't miss it kind of things.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he uses one or not, but these torpedo bats, man, they just won't go away. People keep talking about it. I thought the topic was about to be completely dead, and then this guy Manfred, everybody's favorite, Rob Manfred, walks out there and just has something to say about it. The actual quote is that torpedo bats are good for baseball. I'm just going to ask, is your opinion that these are good for baseball? We won't get too far into this because we've beat this like a dead horse, but if the commissioner comes out and says it's good for baseball, it's got to be good for baseball, right?
I'm pretty indifferent. I think that eventually the pitching will catch up to these torpedo bats if they're even giving a slight advantage. I know some players have some good statistics with them currently, but it's only been 2 weeks of baseball. So I think he needs a bigger sample size. I think Manfred's just excited there's more offense. It's obviously over the past decade, the MLB has been focusing on trying to bring back the steroid era without the steroids. The long ball brings in the fans ultimately. And so I think anything that is juicing up the offense, Manfred's going to be a fan of it.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen more than a few games already. Teams scoring 20, 18. Just some big numbers. It also could just be that I listen, the torpedo bats might have something to do with it, but it may just be that we have a lot of good offensive talent right now in Major League Baseball, and pitching is slow to start the year. It's been relatively cold out, guys. Just, I normally that would hinder hitting, but it seems like nobody's really up to speed on pitching yet. Even Skeens can't get to 10 Ks yet. Not missing a lot of bats. So listen, I think there's a conversation around these torpedo bats. It'll probably continue a bit. I think it's going to probably die out. I think to your point, we'll see pitchers catch up a little bit as well. And hopefully this is a non-story in the next couple of weeks so we don't have to keep talking about it. Let's go.
One last note on the torpedo bats. I think traditionally you always obviously have spring training, but pitchers are working on different stuff during that time. And really April's the time of like, okay, this is what's working. This is the sequences. This is what I'm going to do for the rest of the year. So usually the pitching starts off a little slow in April to begin with. And I think this whole torpedo bat is just a false narrative to this offensive explosion at the beginning for some players.
Yeah, no doubt. And speaking of pitching, there's a team out west that has a lot of it, but potentially maybe a bit geriatric. Is age already catching up to the Dodgers pitching staff? Snell just went to the 15-day IL. Shoulder inflammation. Some concerns there just based on the age of that staff. I know we got some really talented guys, especially in the bullpen piece of it. You brought in Roki, who's kind of a young guy in this, but just overall, I mean, are we really counting on guys like Snell, Glasnow, who's had some injuries? I know he's a little bit on the fringe of being young and old. Even once Shohei comes back, he's on the wrong side of 30. I don't know. Is it a story? Is it going to be something that we're just going to be kind of watching all year long?
I think the Dodgers are really smart with their staff, and that's why they always have 8 starting pitchers they can go to. And if anyone's even slightly injured, they're super conservative. I'm hoping it's a no issue. I mean, shoulder inflammation can be 1,000 different things. So to me, Blake Snell kind of was on the injury bug early last year. Took him a little bit to get ramped up. He also didn't really have a spring training because he held out on that contract. But I think everything will be fine. They have way too much talent, and they got way too much depth, which is how essentially their front office designs their team every year.
Yeah, there's something to be said though about the age of their entire roster. I know when we're looking at the pitching staff, you know, we kind of just laid it out. There are some age concerns potentially there, especially if there's guys that can't stay healthy. That entire staff has injury history. Mm-hmm. You look at Snell, you look at Glasnow, you look at now Shohei, a lot of injury history. And then you've got guys like Yamamoto and Sasaki who throw 1 billion miles an hour at max effort. And even though they're on the younger end, you got to be worried about if one of those guys does get injured, you're looking at an entire staff with potential arm or ligament injuries over their history. So definitely something to think about. And then obviously on the offensive side of things as well, they're not very young either. You got Mookie Betts, you got Freddie Freeman, Teoscar Hernandez. Teoscar. Kike. Yeah, you got a bunch of guys that are just on the wrong side of youth. And I wonder down the road in the long season if that's something that potentially catches up to them.
I think it could, but I also think they're still in their prime. They're at the end of their later end of their prime, but I think a lot of those guys, how they swing, how they play, will age fine. And the Dodgers always have a youth movement where they always kind of supplement their age. So we'll see. I also think them having an elite bullpen helps because you're only really needing your starters to go 5 innings. 5-6 innings, you throw your 80 to 100 pitches. Like, we don't need the stretch out guys. We can turn it over to the pen and be very dangerous. So I think they're just built to last. And if they do get injured, they have guys to replace them, like Dustin May.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think they pitched a guy today too that was one of their top prospects. He didn't fare very well, but in general, they still have some guys that they can kind of rely on from
Yeah,
that.
like over the years, they had Gosselin. He came out of nowhere. I mean, they still have Kershaw. He's going to give you 15 starts. So I think they just have a mathematical, they use the analytical side, and they can kind of pinpoint, we're going to get X amount of starts out of this guy. If we can get 20 to 25 starts out of Snell and have him fresh for the playoffs, that's a win. Because we can, put him on Phantom IL for a little bit, bring up one of these other, our 6th and 7th starter to start a couple weeks, keep these guys fresh. And then obviously they have Shohei trying to get back for the playoffs, which is their goal. So it's, hey, you don't even have to pitch a regular season. Just come in, throw 100 in the playoffs, and let's make a run at another title. So
yeah, maybe they'll bring back closer Shohei from the World Baseball Classic.
They definitely could. I think they'll have him try to start. I think he wants to start too, but yeah. Him in your arsenal is throwing is going to be a positive.
Yeah. There is a guy that doesn't have to worry about age. His name is Wilyer Abreu. This guy might be, I don't know, maybe the best player in baseball based on his statistics. He's definitely got a I wouldn't call it a record, but he's up there with some really good company. He is, through the first 10 games, he has recorded 14 or more hits, 3 or more home runs, 12 or more RBIs, 10 or more runs, 8 or more walks. And he's the only other left-handed batter to do that in AL history since Ty Cobb, Babe Ruth, or Lou Gehrig. So those are the 3 guys. If you want any guys to be named with, those might be the 3 guys. What more can you say about this guy? He's just being an absolute animal to start the year.
Frickin' extend him. What are we waiting for? Extend him, because he also plays elite defense. And shout out to Jay Hay from Baseball is Dead with that stat. It's an insane stat. Yeah, I mean, 1925 with Ty Cobb and 1932 with Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. And then you have Wilyer the Bambino Abreu doing it in 2025. Yeah, no, I'm very high on him. I love his entire package. He also had this crazy stomach flu in spring training, lost 20 pounds and doesn't miss a beat. So, and also I do not believe he started all 14 of those games, because they rotate guys to get at bats right now, and he's part of that rotation. He started the majority of them, but even crazier. Imagine if he has another 5-6 at bats, what he's doing. So just tremendous start for Wilyer Abreu.
Yeah, I'm really looking for him to take that next step, right? Last year was pretty good on a platoon, more or less. He got 399 at bats last year. His OBP was a 322, and he slugged 459 with an OPS of 781. I'd like to see him. Obviously, he started the year scorching hot. I'd like to see him keep some level of consistency of the hot bat, specifically not striking out as much, which he has shown in the early part of this year that he's not going to do. He did strike out 125 times in 399 at bats last year, though. So if we can cut that down, get on base a little bit more, I think this dude could be an absolute stud, especially in that ballpark. Yeah, man, I think you almost have to think about extending this guy, especially if you think he's going to be a long-term piece of your team. I know we had some discussion last week about potential guys getting traded from the Sox or who that might be. Sounds like your thought might be Jarren Duran. But if you're not going to extend him, maybe he is a trade piece. I think right now he seems too valuable to do that, though. Yeah,
there's no way you can trade him. I think he definitely was the odd man out. I know that Cora really values him, and has kind of voiced that concern to the front office. That's kind of like his diamond in the rough he found, and wants him on the roster for obviously all the things that he does, including, I can't speak enough about his defense. And Sunday Night Baseball, he had one of the best throws I've ever seen from right field to throw out a runner trying to get the third. I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, the Red Sox are going to have some questions that are going to need answers sooner than later. and I don't see how, unless you're getting back just a ace or something in that range, that you trade Wilyer Abreu at the.
Yeah. Yeah, he's pretty nasty, man. Obviously, he's a fantasy contributor for my team. I had the wherewithal to pick him up. I'll be honest, that was complete luck. I saw he homered 2 days or two times on opening day, and I was like, you know what? Let's take a flyer on this guy, and it's paid off so far. So really excited to watch him over the next couple of weeks, especially see if he can keep it up. There's a teammate of his that may have had the worst start in baseball history that now all of a sudden it's a non-factor, it's a non-story, but because it's a non-story now, we almost have to talk about it. Rafael Devers started, I don't know the exact amount, but it was like 14 strikeouts and 19 at bats or something along those lines. He was dreadful to start the year, and all of a sudden you look up, he's now over a 250 batting average. Just went 4 for 4, hit a home run. He might be back.
Yeah, for all the Devers haters out there, hopefully they stay on that bandwagon and aren't allowed to jump back on the rightful ship that is Rafael Devers, the cornerstone of the Boston Red Sox lineup. And he's still walking a lot. Even when he was 0 for 21, he was still walking a lot. He was still being patient. It's all about just getting his timing down with the fastball. And still timing is not all the way back, but I mean, then he goes 10 for 15 or whatever it was over the past 3-4 games. So it's hard to keep these guys down. When you have a track record of hitting, you usually figure out how to hit.
Yeah, for sure. And just to give the correct statistic there, it was hitless over his first 5 games, 19 at-bats, 15 strikeouts. Definitely a tough start. Way to bounce back. I knew he would. I put a video out not long ago. Had some conversation around this. He's too talented. He's got way too much going for him. If he can just embrace that DH role, get out from his own head, he was bound to bounce back, and he's bound to just put up insane numbers. And looking forward to it, to be honest. I do like Devers. He's a unique talent for sure.
And shout out to Cora for being just a stud and not moving him down or doing nothing. It's like, you're hitting 2, you're a 2-hole hitter. We want to give you the most opportunities. I don't care if you have 15 strikeouts and 19 at-bats. We have full faith in you. So that's always pretty cool to see as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The Red Sox are one of the hottest teams right now in baseball, coming off a pretty impressive sweep of the St. Louis Cardinals in a series where the Cardinals kept fighting. It just seemed like they never stopped fighting. I know there was a game that they got completely the brakes blown off them, but other than that, the Cardinals are a little scrappy. But the Red Sox are hot.
Yeah, that Cardinals team was impressive. Their lineup 1 through 6, 1 through 5. They play baseball, and they play hard-nosed baseball. And it's cool to see. And I think there's a lot of question marks in the air with where they're going to go with management after next year. Chaim Bloom, ex-Red Sox GM or presidents of baseball operations, whatever they call them these days.
Yeah.
And they got a lot of trade pieces that they kind of need to get rid of, like Nolan Arenado, who's on the ugly side of 30 as well, and he's having a terrific start to the year. But yeah, I mean, if they can figure it out and get on a stretch and be competitive in the NL Central, it's like, why not try to make a playoff if they're them? But we'll see what happens. Another team that I was very impressed with was the Giants. And they got the rotation, they got the bullpen, and I think they might have enough offense. But unfortunately, they play in the NL West, so we'll see if they can keep it up. But you got to like what kind of the new Buster Posey regime is instilling in these guys. It's like he's back there behind the plate. It's like those teams. It's pretty cool to see. And then the Rangers, my my World Series contender. They look good. I mean, besides counting today, I know they lost 2 to the Cubs, who are also hot, and the Red Sox have also lost their past 2 games since Sunday. Um, all those teams are looking good and on the up.
And not so fast on the second loss to the Cubs yet. They did just tie the game up 6-6 in the top of the 8th. So there is a potential for that to not be true. But those two teams are duking it out right now. Cubs shut out the Rangers 7-0 yesterday, which was pretty impressive considering my understanding is that was one of their largest discrepancies shutouts in team history, which is pretty impressive as well. So, yeah, man, there's a lot to like about those teams. San Francisco Giants, they were off to an 8-1 start. It was their best since 2003. Sox obviously are rolling. Rangers obviously are rolling as well. And then the Cubs. I don't really know how much we can put into the Cubs yet. They've obviously played some good teams. We can't discount what they've done. They may just be hot. Out of these teams, though, which ones are you looking to most likely maintain their momentum and continue it on versus, maybe some teams that are just showing out early?
I would probably go Rangers and Cubs just based on their division. I think both of those divisions are significantly easier than the NL West and the AL East. But I think if there's one of those teams that's going to falter off is the Giants.
Yeah, it's almost inevitable with that division. It's hard to see how competitive that's going to be for them to be able to hold up, especially if they can't stay healthy, which I hope they can, but they've got a lot of old dudes. It's kind of the same conversation that we had with the Dodgers. They're playing a lot of guys that are younger. You're looking at the Diamondbacks and Padres. Both of those teams are considerably younger than the Giants and Dodgers. I want them to do it. I really do, because I think it'd be so much more fun to watch the Giants be good than the Dodgers this year. But I just don't know that I don't know that I'm ready to put all my eggs in that basket. So I tend to agree. The Rangers and Cubs to me seem like the most likely to continue the momentum. I kind of want to revisit a little bit of the Cubs' successes here. So if we take out the 2 games against the Dodgers over in Japan, which obviously they were regular season games, but it's not normal circumstances if I'm looking at it that way. You're talking about a team that's 8-3 without those 2 losses. Their run differential is significant. They did get the benefit of playing the A's, but they do lead the league in run differential right now at a +28. And if they, somehow pull off the win today, they're going to go out to LA and play the Dodgers again, with a potential 9-5, or if they can sweep the Rangers, it would be a 10-5 record. What a start for a team that refused to really invest much capital into the team. I don't know, man. They might just be the team to beat in that Central Division.
I think they're definitely the team to beat in the Central Division. I think that Dodger series will be a good test. We don't have all this worry about the big bag Dodgers. We're on a roll. Let's see what we can do. Kind of like what the Phillies did. I think it'll be a great little matchup. Not to get ahead.
Yeah. So let's look at the Braves. I know we talked about it maybe a week ago. They're still slumping. It just seems like they can't really get out of their own way. As I'm saying this, they are in a position right now to potentially beat Philly. They are up 7-5 at the end of the 8th. Regardless, they continue to struggle with batted balls actually finding pay dirt. They continually have expected stats that are much better than what they're performing at. And at some point you have to think that that's going to turn around, but right now it's just not. I don't know how far you can let this go though, without having to maybe do something to energize this team to really get it done.
Yeah, I mean, I think Acuna could be the Energizer Bunny they need. I mean, if I'm Atlanta, I'm just trying to get to 500 by the end of the month or be a game out of 500. And then it's like sky's the limit. We get our guy back. Let's take off. I'm also really curious with MLB's scheduling. Atlanta is 0-7. They've played 7 road games. Shouldn't they have the majority of home games when it's cold to begin the year? They're currently 1-1 at home. So, yeah, I still believe in the Braves. I think it's still too early. Like I said, I think if they're hovering right around 500 come the end of the month, I think they're going to be just fine, and I think they'll make a run at the division title.
Yeah, it's really tough to see the Braves at 1-8, man. Especially considering I wouldn't call it necessarily hype, but what we all thought was going to be a good year for the Braves, a resurgent year for the Braves. They had some really bad injury luck last year, and you replace injury luck with steroid luck, with batted ball luck that's just gone awry. Just to give some context to what we're talking about, you've got guys like Austin Riley with an expected slug of 338, which isn't overly impressive, but he's hitting 257 slug. You got Ozzie Albies, expected batting average of 275, hitting 194. Michael Harris is batting 242, expected batting average of 284. It's like they just can't get out of their own way right now. Matt Olson's another guy. He's actually, his are probably the most blatant difference between expected stats and actual. He's expected at a 316 average, a 762 slug, and a expected WOBA of 502. His actual line is 233, 395, and a 433 slug. Just massive discrepancies.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still remember the days when the Braves would come slow out of the gate with Bobby Cox, and then come summertime and they just start getting on a roll and start winning. And I think the same will happen again. I do, which I don't believe, but I do find it interesting, especially since the Red Sox are doing this. But you wonder if there's some complacency with these long-term contracts that they signed, and people just automatically think they have a spot because they're on a 6-year deal or an 8-year deal, or they think they're not getting paid enough and they don't have the right mentality at the moment. Like I said, I don't believe that, but it is something. There's no way they should be 1-8. So it just makes you ask a bunch of questions when you start off like that. But, you know, like I said, get the 500 by the end of the month. Be right around there, and you'll be just fine.
Yep, no doubt. There are some other teams that are making moves and doing well with it. We did talk about the St. Louis Cardinals a little bit earlier. Just want to revisit that real quick. There was a cool stat. I believe it was an NL record, if you want to correct me on that, but it was 10 plus hits in 9 straight games to open the series.
Yes, they tied
the season.
They tied the NL record with 10 hits in 9 straight games, and they have a losing record. Pretty crazy.
I don't even know how that's possible, especially considering some of the teams that they played. But they also ran into a juggernaut right now in the Boston Red Sox offense. So there is that. Although they haven't really done much to make me believe in their long-term successes. They've lost games to the Pirates. Although didn't they sweep the opening series against Minnesota? I believe.
Yes.
I think we talked about that as well. So
they swept.
Yeah.
And then they got swept.
And yet they still have a losing record. So a lot to be desired there for the Cardinals, but pretty cool stat. 10 hits in 9 straight games. It's been It's been an up and down year so far for them, but maybe they'll get it together.
And the streak ended yesterday as
Monday.
they fell short with
Monday,
only 9
the
hits.
7th. Yeah. And by the way, that might still be some sort of record. 9 hits, 1 short. Pretty impressive still to be able to knock that many hits in. Staying in the same division, there's a guy and a team that you are really excited about. Hunter Greene, the Cincinnati Reds. We did say this is Chicago's, division to lose, but I don't know. Can the Reds get something going? And is this the guy to get them going with Elly De La Cruz? Hunter Greene looking like a real ace. What's your take?
Yeah, I mean, any ace that throws gas and can go 8 innings, you got a chance. So they got Tito still pulling the strings. They got Elly going crazy. But no, I mean, I think Hunter Greene's real deal. I think he's going to give issues every time he starts. He's going to, give the Reds a chance to win. We will just see if they have enough talent on the roster to be able to pull off the bold prediction, as they are sitting in last place right now.
Yeah. 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 There's, again, a lot to be desired there. Them and the Pittsburgh Pirates right now look like they're going to be duking it out for last place, but there's a massive difference when you look at those two teams. Cincinnati Reds are +3 in run differential to the Pittsburgh Pirates -20. So those are some compelling reasons to expect maybe something a little bit better from Cincinnati moving forward. Let's talk about these standings, though. Let's kind of walk through this because there are some, I don't know if I'd call them surprising, but definitely some eye-opening leaders when we're looking at some of these divisions. Let's start out west, though. The San Diego Padres are 9-2. We talked about the Giants at 8-2. The Dodgers dropped another game today to the Washington Nationals to lose that series, by the way, which is surprising in its own right. 6-0 at home, but 3-4 away. Are the Padres the team to beat out there right now? I mean, who says no?
I do. The Padres are off to a good start. They definitely have some talented cores around them, not only in their rotation but the lineup. But it's too early to call that. I would say they are surprising, just like the Giants are. And then you have kind of the underachieving Diamondbacks at the moment. But yeah, I would not say they're the team to beat.
I would actually disagree with you. I think they are the team to beat. You're talking about a team that won 93 games last year in that same division. They only came in 5 games behind the Dodgers, who had a ridiculous year last year. I think they've started better than the Dodgers, even though the Dodgers got all the hype to start the year. The Dodgers have looked pretty horrible the last about week or so against Philadelphia and now against the lowly Nats. I'm a little worried about the Dodgers, if I'm being honest. I know they're going to get it together. They're still going to be in the mix. They're going to be in the playoffs. They've got arguably the best player in the world, but I think there's something to be said about that lineup. And if they can't stay healthy, like they're only missing right now Freeman. And their offense does not look good. Just doesn't look good. If one guy is missing time and your whole offense is going to crumble down like that, that concerns me a bit. And then on top of it, you don't see a lot of great teams losing back-to-back games against teams like the Nats. This series has me a little wary. And then the Padres obviously go on the road to Chicago. They put up a fight, take a game. And now, maybe a week ago we would have said Chicago would have not been that great of a team, but now they're kind of whooping up on some other teams too. So I don't know. Padres 9-2. They're 7-0 at home. Good run differential. I think they are the team to beat. They got a great rotation over there too.
Yeah, I mean, I think once it's cold over in DC right now, and I think these Dodgers guys are used to the limousines and waking up, getting some gnar in the morning. So I'm just not concerned with it. But yeah, I mean, I think they're going to have a very tough opponent with the Padres moving forward. I don't think it's a division they're going to cakewalk through. I still think the Dodgers added, to their roster, so I don't know how they get worse.
Yeah.
And San Diego's only subtracted from their roster when it comes to like all-stars. And that all-star is currently on the Dodgers. So we'll see. We'll see if Nick Pivetta can keep it up for a whole year. I mean, I guess he did move to the NL, so anything's possible. But yeah. I'm high on San Diego. I still think that come 3 months, you're going to see the Dodgers with a nice 4 to 5 game lead out in that division.
It would not surprise me, though, to see the Padres actually win that division. It wouldn't surprise me at all. And see the Dodgers still end up winning the World Series. So that's another thing, right? I mean, there's a dynamic to it where, Dodgers turn it on in the postseason, which wouldn't be surprising at all either. So let's talk a little bit more National League, since I know this is your favorite league to talk about. The National League East, we talked about the Braves at now 2-8, by the way. That's big news. Big news, 2-8 now. Boom sauce. Officially a winning streak of 1. You got the Nats looking somewhat formidable, young. They have taken 2 out of 3 games so far from the Dodgers. Maybe we're sleeping on that a little bit. Marlins also another team that's, fighting every day. But man, are we overlooking the Mets? I know I picked the Phillies. You picked the Braves. Are the Mets just being lost in this whole thing because we counted them out with that whole pitching staff? And maybe they're going to actually wake up and surprise us.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would not count out the Mets. They also Francisco Lindor is struggling mightily right now too, with an offense that's obviously producing. I think a pitching staff that is overproducing. But the Mets can always make a deal, and that's what I would worry about. They get off to a hot start. They're obviously looking to win the division. That's huge because then you get a home series in the playoffs. Like, go make a trade.
Yeah.
I think Cohen is always in the realm of possibility. If it makes sense to Cohen financially, he will pull the trigger, and that should scare everyone in that division. So, I would definitely say that they are a contender. They are something they should be worried about. It will definitely be an uphill battle to pass the Mets and Phillies if you're the Braves. But I still think the best team in that division is the Phillies as of right now. So, and they got, I mean, similar to the Dodgers, they got a pretty veteran crew over there as well. And they play hard and they play good. I mean, they got a run differential of plus 14. Yeah. So they're 5-1 at home. The Mets are 5-0 at home. So maybe the Braves just need to play at home a little more.
Yeah, that would help them, I think. There's definitely something to be said about the Braves being 1-8 with a 1-1 record at home. 50%, man, a 500 record.
2-1
at home.
2-1 after today.
Oh, that's right. Today was at home. So winning record at home.
Winning record.
Gotta love that. Here's my thing about the Mets, and my thing is go out and get Sandy Alcantara. Just go do it.
Mets
you
won't
do
trade
that.
Him to him. Mets
I know
never
they won't.
trade same division.
The Marlins.
What'd I say? Yeah, the Marlins never trade same division.
I agree, but make it compelling and at least put your best foot forward. And maybe they have, and maybe the Marlins have said no. But man, you give me Kodai Senga, Sandy Alcantara, and then once Sean Manaea gets back, I'm starting to think a little bit better about your prospects of potentially, competing at a high level from a pitching standpoint. So, yeah, dude, I love the Phillies still in that division, but man, the Mets are starting to look good. They're starting to look formidable. And once Lindor goes and starts getting hot, which is inevitable, lineup might get a little scarier. So definitely something to watch. And
if I'm the Mets,
yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to go make an offer at Dylan Cease because the Padres aren't going to pay him. Padres are going to get the most return for him. Obviously, it's going to be hard if they're leading that division, but they're in financial trouble and going through a lawsuit. They're going to have to do something with their payroll. That is a pitcher I would look at, and it would not surprise me if he is traded, even if the Padres are winning.
Yeah, I mean, at the deadline, the Padres are going to have a lot of decisions to make. That's probably going to be the biggest one that they're going to make all year. I don't know if it makes sense if the Padres, who have been dying to get some sort of relevancy in the NL playoff picture and get to the World Series, if it makes sense to trade your best pitcher. I don't know if it makes sense. I get it. They're potentially not going to pay him. Maybe they surprise everybody and pay him, but I doubt it. But I just don't know if moving that guy, especially when you're in contention with one of the most stacked National League West divisions we've seen in a while. I don't know if it makes sense, man.
We'll see. Tag that Bogarts contract to it too while you're at it if you're the Padres.
Now that seems more compelling to me.
So if I'm the Mets, that's what I'm thinking. I give up little capital. I'll eat Bogarts. He can still play. He's still, hitting his 280. Plays defense, can play all around the infield. And then you get your ace. And then you can see if you can sign him. Yeah.
I think that there's probably a more likely scenario where he goes AL. But I don't know. Speaking of AL, we've got 3 divisional leaders, one of which I think we definitely thought would be leading the division, and 2 maybe questionable ones that we thought could be leading the division, but are starting to look really good. Toronto Blue Jays and Detroit Tigers are the 2 I'm talking about there in the East and Central. And then in the West Division, we've got the Rangers, who are staring down 8-4 right now, which would put them in a hotly contested first to second place with the surprising Angels. So let's go quick through this. Toronto Blue Jays, they were your dark horse team in that division, and I think in the AL in general.
Mm-hmm.
How are you feeling about their prospects right now of competing there?
Yeah, I think this is going to be the best roster they have for a while. So if I'm the Blue Jays and this is your last hurrah, then go do it. Go sell the farm. See if you can make a run, because they do have some veteran pitchers like Gossman. You get him, revert father time a little bit, get him Cy Young votes. They got Barrios, who also is 30-ish. Mm-hmm. Still very quality. I mean, those 1-2 guys, and then you have a lineup. Georgie Springer's hitting like 440 right now.
Yeah.
So he's back, even though he's 35. You got Bo Bichette, you got Santander, you got the $500 million man. Yeah, I mean, I think they definitely can keep it up, and I think they're only going to continue to add.
And you get Scherzer back at some point here. I know he's been a little banged up, but yeah, I mean, they absolutely could make a run at this division. It looks crazy competitive. The Yankees are starting to look a little beatable, especially with this Detroit Tigers series, and honestly, they're just kind of throwing the Yankees around, which kind of plays into your whole concept here of the Yankees potentially missing the playoffs. We're sticking by it, I assume. Mm-hmm. But what can we say about the Tigers, man? 7-4 to start the year. They're on a 5-game win streak, looking really good. Torkelson had a walk-off. Kerry Carpenter, man, this dude's just hitting bombs everywhere. And Skubal looks back.
Yeah, and I think they might be the prime candidate for Sandy. You miss out on Bregman, go get Sandy. That would be my move if I'm the Detroit Tigers. I still think the Kansas City Royals and Cleveland Guardians are going to give them a run for their money. But yeah, the Tigers look very good right now with a +15 run differential and 5-game winning streak as of today. They might
Yeah.
be the new hottest team between them and the Mets.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of hot teams and us making horrible guesses at things, so we had a list of series last week that we put together that were our favorite series to watch. Let's go ahead and recap some of those because you and I did not do so hot, but man, were they not great series. Let's start with that Phillies Dodgers series. So you and I both picked the Dodgers 2-1. The Phillies just came out and said, screw your picks, and beat the Dodgers in a 3-game series. They're legit. I don't know, man. I don't know if there's too much more to say about it, but they definitely look up to the task.
Yeah, I think it was a big statement series for this. I mean, for being in April, but yeah, no, I think it was critical for the Phillies to kind of put their foot down and be like, "We're here. You're gonna have to come through us to get to the World Series." And another team that could definitely add some pieces with with Dan Dombrowski at the helm, who's always known for making very bold moves and putting his teams in positions to win, even if it means neglecting the future. So I would like to add that Roki was gross. The splinker, splitter, changeup, whatever. As soon as he starts throwing more strikes with his secondary pitches, which is increasing every outing, I think he is going to be lethal for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
And it's actually the only game they won, which is odd. So, because that was the game I had them definitely losing, the Dodgers. So, but yeah, no, it was a great series. Phillies look good.
We got Royals and Orioles last week. I had the O's 2-1. You had the Royals winning the series 2-1. You did take that one. Trouble for Gunnar Henderson. What are we thinking here?
Yeah, I think he's just getting off the rust. I do think the O's are probably, besides the Braves, the easy pick. I think they're the second most disappointing team in baseball. And we'll see. I mean, they got some of their guys, Grayson Rodriguez, Kyle Bradish, and Colton Cowser on the DL. And we will see if they can maintain until those guys get back. I don't think Kyle Bradish gets back until late into the season.
Yeah, he's out for a while. Yeah.
But he is supposed to make a 2025 appearance. But Grayson Rodriguez is probably a month and a half out. And Colin Cowser was like, what, 6 weeks, 8 weeks?
Yeah. Yep. He's 6 to 8 weeks. I talk about another team that should really look at going out and taking a flyer on Sandy, man.
For sure.
They've got the means to do it. Just go out and get it done. San Fran swept the M's. That was my only win of the week. You did take the Mariners on a 2-1, I believe. San Fran's the real deal. We covered that already. M's pitching let them down a little bit. Or is it just because San Fran's crazy hot?
I don't know. The M's they can't put a complete series together, which is odd. Because they are scoring enough in the majority of their games to, with their pitching staff to get these wins. So I don't know what's going on. It's hard to do that when you have, I know they have some good offensive production lately, but they just can't put it all together for some reason. I think it's more of a San Fran being a good team, a better team. So
yeah, I think there's concern about the M's bullpen as well. I know they tried to blow another game yesterday against the Houston Astros, and the offense just wouldn't let it happen, and they ended up sneaking through and winning that game. But Gregory Santos came on with like a 2-run lead and ended up going down a run. So definitely need to take a look at that bullpen situation. I know Andres Munoz is pretty good as a closer option, but they might need to get a little bit better around those middle innings. Let's skip forward here to our fantasy baseball update. So who is hot and who is not? Let's start out with the two players of the week. Had both ex-Houston Astros players, Alex Bregman from your team and Kyle Tucker from my team, the Cubs. They were insane this last week. I think Kyle Tucker hit like 411 4 doubles, couple homers, 11 RBIs. Absolutely looks unstoppable at the plate. And Bregman, not much different. 315, 2 homers, 10 RBIs. Man, these two are hot. If I have any opportunity to get these guys in fantasy baseball, I'm definitely looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, with Bregman, the reason why he went to Boston is because his stats at Fenway are absurd. He's like the second behind Ted Williams in most categories hitting at Fenway. And then he finally got to play at Fenway and just exploded. And obviously Kyle Tucker, he got to play out in Sacramento, which I guess the ball apparently flies further than in Colorado. But obviously he had a great series there. And yeah, I mean, it's got to hurt the Astros a little that 2 of your guys that were staples to your lineup are still producing on other teams. So, and maybe a reason why the Astros are a little down this year.
Yeah, and a couple other guys that we just kind of want to mention quick that are hot as flames. Wilyer Abreu, who we did talk about previously. Jackson Churio, while his underlying stats actually suggest that he might be overperforming a little bit, he's been hit the ball pretty hard lately. Had a couple home runs recently as well. Just watch out for a little bit of a regression there. Justin Martinez for the Arizona Diamondbacks, absolutely dirty splitter, 90 miles an hour. We will be discussing this guy a little bit more. I think he's going to be a lockdown closer for the Arizona Cardinals or Arizona. Thinking about NFL already, man. Arizona Diamondbacks. I think this dude's going to be in a lot of close games this year as well. And I think that he's going to potentially lead the league in saves if we get to that point.
Yeah, no, Justin Martinez looked really good. And then Mason Miller still has a 0 ERA, at least as of Sunday or Monday, with 3 saves. So when he gets the opportunity, he blows gas right by you. Or Aldis Chapman, 2 saves, 0 ERA. So
yeah, the comeback.
The old man, and he's still throwing 100. So
yeah, it's kind of scary. I don't understand how his arm still works like that, but he's nasty.
And
he's
then lastly, nasty. Georgie Springer, he is revitalized, drank from the fountain of youth, 35 years old, but he is killing it.
Yet another Astro.
OPS. Yet another Astro, and I'm pretty sure today he went off. I'm pretty sure today he went, since he is on my fantasy team, he went 2 for 4 with a bomb, 1950 OPS, played a little outfield, which raises his average to 459.
Just will not stop.
54 OPS. Yeah, I mean, he's killing it right now.
If you can go out and get Springer, he actually had a really nice end of the year last year as well. He had a really rough start to last year. But it seems like he's kind of carried over some of that momentum from last season. I'd take a flyer on this guy. If you can get him in a low level trade, I would absolutely do it. I think he's going to be in a really good offense, and they may even move him. I don't know if he's leading off right now. He was last year, but I think they moved him down. But he may find himself back up at the top of that lineup if he's not already.
Yeah, 92% owned. So if he's still on waivers, scoop him.
So there are some guys that are not performing like the other guys that we just mentioned. I've got 4 names here that are pretty concerning because they're pretty big names. So we got Emmanuel Clase, we got Luis Robert Jr., Ronel Blanco, and Yainer Diaz. We'll start with Clase. He has no saves yet, and he's got a 6.75 ERA. I tend to think this is just a bad luck type of situation. He's got a long track record of being great. The saves are going to come. The Guardians are going to be in a lot of close games, I would imagine, especially within that division. I would not panic on this guy. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, today he went 1 inning, 2 Ks, very clean inning, 0 ERA, 0 whip. So those guys, I think he's only 26 years old, has a proven track record. He also has Cade Smith right before him. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it at all. Definitely frustrating, though, when you're his fantasy owner at the moment.
Absolutely. Luis Robert Jr., I am a little bit more worried about this guy. Just because we've seen this story before with him. He's crazy elite when he's hot, but when he's not, he is dreadful to watch. Right now, I don't know that he's really in it. He plays for a horrible team. There's not a lot to love about his disposition within the team right now. I'd imagine he's probably not on the White Sox forever, so maybe there's that to look forward to. But right now he's hitting 161, no homers. I think he's got like maybe 3 RBIs. It's not a great start for the year for him. And every time I've watched him come up to bat, it's been a pop out or a strikeout. Not good. Not good.
Yeah, I mean, this is the opportunity for GMs to try to get him for cheap. See if you can't revitalize him a little bit. He's still young. I think he is 20-ish, 27. So, I mean, he should be hitting the prime of his career. Obviously, the White Sox are in complete rebuild mode. Someone go take a chance on him.
Yep, absolutely. Iñigo Diaz, 1 for 15. I think he's got maybe 2 hits now. It's not great. The underlying stats do suggest that will change. He's too young, too talented. Kind of gives me a little bit of the Devers feel here. I think he's going to get it together. I would not panic. I would wait on this guy. Go pick up another catcher if you need to in the meantime until he gets hot. Just fill the spot. You'll be fine with Iñigo Diaz over the course of the year.
Yeah, I mean, catchers, who cares about in fantasy baseball?
Absolutely. All right, man. Let's finish this off with our series to watch this weekend. We've got some awesome ones. I'm really excited about some of these pitching matchups and some of these team matchups. Let's start it out with one that we've mentioned a few times already on this podcast today: Cubs versus Dodgers. So in our first game, we've got Matt Boyd versus Sasaki, which everybody's always pumped to watch Roki. This is going to be a second time around against the Cubs. Maybe a bit of a resurgence from him. He did walk 5 batters in their first outing. Excited to watch him kind of hopefully bounce back a little bit from that. Game 2, we got Ben Brown versus Glasnow. And game 3, we have Justin Steele versus Dustin May. The Justin versus Dustin matchup. Who you like in this series?
I'm going Dodgers sweep.
I don't love it.
So they're back home. They're undefeated at home. After the end of the home trip, they're going to be 9-0.
I am going to say, because I do not care much for the pitching matchups of Ben Brown, if that's who the Cubs end up pitching, in Matt Boyd versus Sasaki. I'm gonna go complete opposite here, and this is not a homer pick. I'm actually gonna go 2-1 Cubs. Justin Steele gets it done versus Dustin May. May and Sasaki have both been walking a ton of guys so far. The Cubs are one of the most patient teams in baseball, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, lead the league in walks. They've actually walked in like 4 earned runs already with bases loaded. So I think Sasaki is going to get frustrated again. I think Kyle Tucker's going to stay hot. I like the Cubs to take 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers there. Angels Astros is our next favorite series to watch this weekend. I'm not even going to try. Actually, I will try and say this guy's name. Kochanowicz, I believe is game 1 for the Angels versus Arrighetti. That's going to be fun just to watch the announcers say those 2 names all game. Anderson versus Blanco in game 2, and Kyle Hendricks versus Wesneski, a Cubs versus Cubs, ex-Cubs versus Cubs matchup. Who do you like in this matchup?
Yeah, you got a hot Angels team. You got a bunch of pitchers like with great pitching names. Spaghetti and Coco, Anderson, Blanco, and then the Cubbies on the game 3. definitely not betting on this series at all, but I'm going to take the Astros 2-1.
Okay. I am going to. I'm actually going to say that the Astros sweep this series. It is in Houston. I think Wesneski's pitching really well, and I like Spaghetti, Arrighetti, and Blanco to get it done against the Angels. I think they cool off a little bit, so let's see a sweep there. Our last two here are going to be the Giants versus Yankees. Robbie Ray versus Marcus Stroman. Hicks versus Warren. And we got Logan Webb and Carlos Rodon to finish it out on Sunday. Really, really good pitching matchups, actually. I'm really excited about this series. A hot Giants team coming in against a Yankees team that right now is facing a potential sweep against the Detroit Tigers, but they're going to be back at home. I like, personally, the Yankees to take 2 out of 3. I think that they get the Warren, and I think they get the Rodon game. I think they lose the opening game with Stroman on the bump. Yep, that's my take on that one.
Yep, I'm going to do the classic flip. I'm going to go Giants 2-1. Fat bald Rodon will lose game 3 versus Logan Webb, and Jordan Hicks is going to pitch well. I can even see a sweep in the prediction, but I think the Yankees will get 1 game at home.
Sounds good. This is going to be a fun one to recap. And then we've also got the Rangers versus Mariners, a little interdivision matchup here early in the season. So game 1, super exciting. We've got DeGrom versus Miller. We've got Rocker versus Wu in game 2. And we've got Evaldi versus Gilbert in what might be the best pitching matchup we've seen to start the year. Really exciting about this series. I'm going to go ahead and say, because this is going to be in Seattle, I really like the pitching matchups, but I'm going to go 2-1 Mariners. I like Wu over Rocker, and I like Gilbert over Evaldi, who had a rough outing against the Cubs. I think DeGrom gets it done, though. I'm going to go 2-1 Mariners here.
I'm going to do simple arithmetic transitive property on this one. The Mariners really let me down. And by transitive property, I think the Rangers are better than the Giants. And so since the Mariners got swept by the Giants, I'm going to go Rangers 2-1 with the series win in Seattle.
Perfect. It's going to be a great one to recap next week. I think we're at odds on every single series. We will be keeping track of this. I feel somewhat good about my predictions, but I'll be honest, there's so many good pitching matchups this weekend on these games or on these series that we just mentioned. I could see a lot of these going complete opposites of what I believe, and I could see them going some sweeps here and there too as well. So really exciting week of baseball ahead. I know everything that we talked about today is a lot, but at the same time, it's baseball. It's back. We're still excited about that. Our teams are starting to play well as well, and I hope your teams are as well, unless you are a St. Louis Cardinals or Yankees fan, apparently. But yeah, keep tuning in, man. We're going to be doing this all season long. Toast Sports Baseball. Look out for episode 4 next week. We'll have a lot more hot topics to talk about. And stay toasty.
Stay toasty.